All our life, so far as it has definite form, is but a mass of habits. William James, 1892. Many of the activities we do in our lives, we do without effort. We don't have to tell our heart to pump blood through our body, otherwise we probably wouldn't be here right now. However, there are a number of things that we do on a daily basis that are within our control, like brushing our teeth in the morning. In fighting games, we'd like to believe that we have the same amount of choice. However, when you're playing, you might notice that your opponent tends to throw a lot when they're in the corner, or maybe they go for the same pressure strings and combos. When we see these things, we have to ask, do they know that they keep doing this? And am I doing something often that I'm unaware of? Habits are the reason behind why these sequences occur, but how do they work? How are habits formed, and can we change them? Welcome, my monks and disciples, to the first episode of my new series, The Reads. I am your master, ShaolinPretzels, and today, we're gonna unlock the secrets of habits. So let's talk about the brain for a bit. The brain has this structure called the basal ganglia, and this structure plays a very important role in how we handle motivation and also how we make decisions. This structure contains extracellular dopamine, which is the feel-good chemical of the brain. It's said that when you do something, the brain's cortex registers that action as a learning experience, and the basal ganglia shoots out a bunch of dopamine as a reward to the brain for achieving its goal. Having this explosion of dopamine in your head makes you want to perform the same action again and again to keep feeling that good feeling. Here's an example. Say that your opponents knocked you down, and you're thinking about performing a reversal. If the reversal gets blocked, then you might get punished. But if it hits, you deal some damage to your opponent and you feel good about it. Because you achieved your intended goal, the basal ganglia is shooting off a bunch of dopamine in your head, rewarding you for landing that wake-up DP. And then this feeling of success keeps telling you to do it again, and again, and again. Stupid Brazilian cans. That's the science behind how habits work, but most of us aren't biologists, so as normal people, how should we think about habits? Charles Duhigg, in his book The Power of Habits, says that habits consist of 4 parts: a cue, a routine, a reward, and a certain drive or craving. These parts engage with the brain in a kind of feedback loop that help the brain automate its daily activities. The cue is what triggers you to perform a particular action. So in our wake-up DP example, this would be your opponent being right next to you whenever you're knocked down. The process of you executing the DP after seeing the cue would be the routine. It's the action that you perform whenever a particular cue is present. As we said before, the reward is that the DP hits and does damage to your opponent if they aren't ready to block it. And everything that we just said is driven by your craving to deal some damage and regain your advantage in the match. That is the structure of habits. So what does this mean for you? Fighting games are a conversation between you and your opponent. Every frame of the match is a battle of the decisions that you two choose to make at a given moment. But what if I were to tell you that you're not always in control of what you're doing? Whether you're playing in a tournament or playing games with a friend, you're gonna be playing against humans. And humans, by the nature of their psychology, are lazy and prone to mistakes. We all can recall moments during a match where we tell ourselves that we're not going to do something risky, like teching a potential throw whenever your opponent's near you. Then at the last round of the set, at the heat of the moment, your mind gets so focused on dealing that last hit of damage that you slip up. You instinctively threw when your opponent wasn't that close to you, you got shimmied, and you lost. Feels bad, man. Fighting games are a battle of the mind, meaning they're a battle of active decisions and also a battle of habits. Recognizing habits in your opponent and them recognizing habits in you can be the difference between winning a tournament and a close 0-2. So how can we identify and affect our habits? Duhigg offers us a step-by-step method to correctly identify and, if necessary, change our habits. The first step is to identify the routine. The brain tends to chunk sequences of actions together. When those sequences get associated with a reward, it becomes the routine of a habit. Which brings us to step 2, identify the reward. It has to be clear and defined. What do you get out of doing this routine? Whether it's dealing a certain amount of damage or avoiding a certain situation, the reward must be clear and understandable to you. The third step is to identify the cue. What usually happens in your matches that prompts you to perform the routine? Put all those things together and you got yourself a well-structured habit. So on to how we change this. You need to keep the reward, keep the cue, but change the routine. So going back to our earlier example, if the reversal gets blocked, instead of waking up with a reversal whenever your opponent's right next to you, wake up and throw them. You have the same cue of your opponent being right next to you, you still deal damage so you get the reward, and all you have to do is just change the actions that you did. This may be difficult to do in a competitive environment, and some habits require continued practice over a prolonged period of time in order to truly have them instilled. But if you just go into the lab and grind out these things across numerous different matches, the end results will help you grow as a player. Okay, this may not have been the answer that you were looking for, but habits can never truly be removed from the brain. Once a particular sequence is formed in the brain, once it forms these associations with actions and rewards, those sequences will stay unless they are overpowered by stronger associations. It's a hard process, but not an impossible one. Just remember this framework, spend a little bit of time in the lab, and before you know it, the habits you form might just help you win your next tourney. That's all I got for you guys today, but what do you guys think? You guys have any bad habits that you would like to change? Be sure to let me know in the comments below, and while you're down there, be sure to click on the subscribe button to become a disciple of the Salt Monastery. The topics covered in this video were based very heavily on Charles Duhigg's The Power of Habit. This has been a personal favorite of the self-help books that I've read since I've entered college. So if you guys want to learn a little bit more about habits, be sure to pick up this book yourself by clicking on the link in the description below. I'll also include a link to a collection of other books that I've read over the past couple years that have been super beneficial to my growth as a competitive player, so you can find all of those in the description as well. Be sure to check out my Twitter profile to keep the conversation going, and also check out my Twitch channel so that we can put some of these concepts into practice. My name is ShaolinPretzels, and as always, stay salty.